Let's start today's call. The first agenda item is about crash report to Acronizer. So yesterday, Simon, doing this the daily Scrum update, Simon brought up the question, where the report actually goes to, because and then sometimes the reports have problem in submitting. And Simon, do you want just to share what we found out yesterday after the sprint? After the Scrum? Simon? You're on mute in case you're talking. Maybe
That was Simon?
Yeah.
Sorry, I got disconnected.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, did you ask a question?
Yeah, I just want to ask, I was just mentioning the first agenda item about submitting the crash report to Acronizer, and then actually there are like two different sites. The APK pointed to two different sites based on when the APK was published. I just wonder if you can just share that with the team so that it's more clear for everyone why sometimes the crash reports, team member reported that the crash report was submitted, but then it's not found, or sometimes when they try to submit it, it's not allowed because they're using the empath network connection. Simon? Maybe Simon has connection issue again. Maybe I can explain a little bit with you guys. So for APK dated January or before, it points to one Acronizer link, and then APK after January 26th, it points to a different one, the recent one. So for APK that after January 26th this year, it points to the correct URL of the Acronizer. So that's where we can find our crash report if there's one. For APK before January 26th, early this year, it was sent to the old URL. And that's why sometimes, depends on which APK you're using when you submit the crash report, that's where we can find the stat trace information. So also, we also found out that when you guys using the recent APKs, and if you experience app crash and you try to submit the crash report to Acronizer, if your connection is if you're using the connection, the empath connection is being blocked, that's why you were not able to submit the crash report. So I just want to share this with the team so that it explains why sometimes when you say, you submit the crash report, but then we couldn't find it in the recent Acronizer, and then sometimes when you say you attempted to submit the crash report and it's not allowed. I hope that explains.
Yeah, and sorry, I think my connection is a little bit poor.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, that's correct. So before the February APK, we were using a different Acronizer link, and after that, like you explained, we have the current one is what we have set up on the same server as what we have the mUzima test server. So so that explains why, like myself, I've not been able to tell when I check in the older link, I can't see some of the crash reports. Now, the issue of not accessing the link on the empath network, it's something we discovered yesterday, because somehow it looks like the link has been blocked on empath network. But this morning, I sent a request to support. I think they are working on it. They will open up that link so that in future, whichever APK you're working on, when you send the crash reports, it will be submitted to the server.
Yeah, so there's two issues. One is two different equalizer link. So any APK after January 26, 2015, when you submit the crash report, is to go to the latest equalizer link. There's another issue is that if you use, doesn't matter which APK you're using, if you're connecting with the MPAC connections, it's being blocked that you submit the crash report. And then why sometimes that you guys was able to submit because you guys were on 3G or data. And that's explain, all these cases. I hope that it makes sense for everyone. So when that happened to you, you know why it happened. As Simon said, he already submitted a request to IT support that to add the exception to our equalizer URL so that once it's allowed, even you guys use the MPAC network to submit the crash reports, it was still allowed. It was allowed.
Okay, we've had that.
Yeah, I hope it's clarified. It helps to clarify all these questions about where's I submit my crash report, but what is it? Or I attempted to submit a crash report and it's not allowed.
Okay.
Yeah. Is it correct? Everyone is clear on this one?
Yes.
Correct. Okay, the next one is the quality issues, and thank you so much, Robert and team, to compile the list. So I just want to ask if that list are the final list, or you guys do work in progress. But I think it's good to have like a final list before we actually put in the efforts on solving always specific issues.
Maybe if we have additional information, the team can add on that list.
Okay. So go ahead and because like two of the issues already have tickets, please go ahead and create tickets for the new ones that you guys report.
Okay.
I think those highlighted issues are very similar during the initial visit, so that we can, even though they are on different pages, they're very similar. So my guessing is that when they fix one, it should be very similar to fix the rest. The other one is a little bit different. It's saying that when using a client, when registering a client using the barcode scanner on the registration form, it crashes. I think that one definitely need to have its, the ticket itself, and also it'll be helpful that you submit the crash reports and include the link to that. So it's easier for us to have enough information before we triage that.
Okay.
Okay. So we understand that the Huawei issues has become blocker, especially for the implementation team, since this is the major device that you guys use. So it'll be helpful if the sooner you guys can file those tickets and provide clean information, the sooner that we can arrange for the next sprint.
Okay.
So yeah, any more questions on the Huawei issues?
We also had mUzima 296, whereby when you tap on the client, the application crashes.
Yeah, so can you file a separate ticket to that?
No, the ticket is already there, 296.
Yeah, so if it's already there, it's okay. We have enough information because I think those two tickets are filed by Kieran, and then he was able to reproduce and get the log.
Okay.
Yeah. So if anything that not on the current ticket, or on the current tickets that you have more information that to help, please feel free to post the update.
Okay.
That would be really, really helpful. If no more comments on Huawei issues, the next one is the initial setup barcode scanner download install. That is for the cosmetic. It's a question come up from the cosmetic cleaner for the initial visit ticket. And Simon, do you want just to give us a brief summary why on your questions on this one? It's about like the last step of checking on the barcode scanner. What is optional if folks say that check and then go download and install, and then what's the next step that we try to propose the workflow? Simon?
Yeah. So these ones are on ticket 3 or 4, mUzima 3 or 4, where I think Ada, you had suggested a number of changes on the wording of the initial wizard. So ideally, this is to improve on that wording. But when you get to the last step, I think after you've added concepts, the next step is checking for barcode scanner. So at that point, what happens is that there's a button. When you click on it, it will check whether a barcode scanner has been installed, and displays a message to that respect. And if it's not installed, then it will take you to the Google Play where you download a scanner and have it installed. So the issue with that section is that because you have an option to either skip the setup process, which on the page it's clear you can click on the skip button. But if you don't want to skip, you want to check whether the barcode is installed, you click on that button, it checks and finds the barcode is there, the scanner is there, and displays the message. Then you would expect the button that takes you to the next step should change the wording from skip, because you've already taken action to check whether a barcode scanner is installed. And another point is that if you check the barcode scanner and it finds that the scanner is not installed, you are taken to Google Play. If you install the scanner from Google Play, it doesn't take you back to the wizard, so that you can move on to the next step. So I think there's some little work to be done at that point, just to make sure that it is clear when somebody gets to that page, it asks them whether they want to skip this process. And if they do not want to skip, they would take action. And then it would change the wording of the button from skip to finish, because that's the last step. And also from Google Play, it will take you back to the wizard so that you can finish and continue doing other things.
Thanks, Simon.
Yeah.
So, what Simon and I were just talking about is the proposed workflow from the optional page, barcode scanner. If someone click check whether existing scanner already installed, what should happen next? And then if found out that you already have existing barcode installed, the skip button should change to finish or done or something like that. And if the scanner is not found, it will bring to the Google Play, download and install the scanner. And after that finish, it should bring back to the application, the apps, instead of staying in the Google Play. So that's pretty much what we're trying to propose the workflow. We would like to share with the team whether it makes sense or not before we have a separate ticket to for this fix. So we would like to hear from you guys whether what we propose, the proposed workflow makes sense, or you have a suggestion that it needs to be modified.
Okay.
Okay. So everyone agree on the proposed workflow?
I would agree.
Huh?
Maybe you give us some time, we go through each,
Okay.
then we post our comments.
Great. Okay, so look at 304, the last comment, that's the proposed workflow, and then please, if you agree, please post, agree. If not, you don't agree, and provide what you suggest.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. The next one is mUzima 290. This one is the attributes to be added on the registration form and demographic update form. So we want to, this is the last call for the final list, because I think Simon is ready to work on this ticket. So can you guys just take a minute just to look at the list here? So we're going to just want to FYI, we're going to remove the participant number 12 participant ID because it should not belong to here.
We are not getting you, Eda.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
So what I'm trying to say that this is the proposed list that the fields should be appear on the registration form, except number 12. We're going to remove this, and also except number 13 CHV name because this is the provider. So this is the final call of making changes on the list. And once we finalize it, implement it, it's not you suggest add this, remove this, and things like that. We will not be able to have the resources to do it at least like for 6 months.
Okay. That's okay.
So everyone agree that is the final list?
Yeah, we agree.
Okay. So so this is the registration form attribute. I think let's look back here. There are a few related tickets that kind of like related to the registration form, so that it's good to go through them and work together at the same time. So the first one is mUzima 202 missing location in mUzima patient registration form. This case has been open for a long time, and the reason is that we did not really get the final list. So I want to bring it up is that since we now have the add additional location features that you can add on demand under the settings, do you guys think that this ticket is no longer needed?
Agreed.
So is it okay if I close it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. close it. And then the next one is mUzima 315, date of birth. DOB field on the registration form. Lawrence, I thank you for filing this ticket. Do you mind just to give us a background what this ticket about?
When you're putting in like the date of birth for the patient on the registration form, when you select by date, then the calendar pop-ups, and you're supposed to select the year. So you realize when select on the year, it gives a maximum of 2005 as the last year you can actually go back to. So to get more dates, if it's an older patient, then you have to select 2005, then it adds another 10 older years to 1995. So you have to keep doing that to be able to get years beyond the date you can view. So I was just asking for the SECO providers if it would be possible. Then let's just have the running dates to maybe, I don't know. I don't know what's reasonable, but just have that all the years listed, and then they can just scroll and select the year. I don't know if the screenshots made sense.
I would say that's very important, Lawrence, and thank you for raising that up. In support of the same, it's just because the providers here do find also hard time for them to like access such number of years. So if something would be done, that would help towards them saving time towards like looking for the other years, previous years.
So is it correct that the challenge right now is the birth year only lists out 10 options at a time? So if someone is, let's say 50 years old, you need to scroll up like 5 times. Is it what the challenge is?
Yeah.
So what you guys propose that it might make sense for more user friendly?
Maybe a single scroll list.
Okay, so instead of like displaying 10 at a time, do like scroll, like continuously scroll bar.
I think a continuous scroll bar is a proposal to have, because like from experience, most of them, I think actually some forget that you're supposed to select the oldest year to get another extra 10 years. So what they've ended up doing is having to get the exact age for the patient. Then they have to enter it by age as compared to by date.
Okay. What do other members think?
It's okay.
It's okay? Okay. So we will use Lauren's suggestion. So I'm just like testing on, I'm just testing on this one. 1 second. My birthday. Actually, I see what you mean, Lawrence. I see what you mean, because let's say that it only display plus or minus 10 years from current year. So that's why it only display 2005 to 2025. For this one, actually it should be the current year, it should not be future year anyway. So and then you have to, when you pick the smallest one, 2005, and then it will display till to 1995, and then you press it, you need to go back again to keep going in order to find the birth year that you look for.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's not user-friendly. Yes, I agree. Okay. So it's like continuous like bar. So the next one is this one for 314. Thank you so again, Lawrence, for finding this ticket. Do you mind just to give us a summary what this ticket is about?
Okay. I don't know if I missed out something from your response, but anyway, let me just explain it the way I thought of it. So from the screenshot, you realize we have it asks for you get the display to enter the AMRS identifier, AMRS universal ID assigned, and then just below that is the identifier, which you have to pick on AMRS medical record number, and then below that we have enter identifier, which is the second time you're supposed to be entering the AMRS number for confirmation, and then the third confirmation, which are all mandatory fields as indicated. So, and actually this is feedback from Raj's student who went through it, and we were thinking maybe have some consistency in the labeling so that we have MRS appearing on each of those labels. Because actually, and some users sometimes get confused. They wonder what enter identifier means. Is it something totally different? So I think my proposal was to either have MRS appearing in all those tags so that you can relate it to what they're supposed to put in.
Yeah, so I think this registration form, I discussed this with Simon yesterday. I think AMRS universal ID is required. However, I don't think the other identifier types should be required because let's just look at I'm just using like CDM as an example. Let's say that you issue the AMRS universal ID to the new CDM client, and then he or she doesn't have other identifier types. So that identifier box that it should not be required. That's how I see it. So what I propose is that we need to remove the required condition for the identifier type box, the first drop-down box. However, if someone choose the identifier type, one of the identifier type, the enter identifier and also confirm identifier would become required. Because if you choose that this client has other identifier type, that means you need to input that value there. That's how I see it. So I don't think the first one is required because it's optional. Not every client would have other identifier type. That's how I see it. And also, I don't for the universal ID assigned, I don't think it makes sense for us to force user to enter twice, to enter the confirm information twice, for the reason, especially when we have the barcode scanner there, that means someone needs to scan twice. That's how I see it. I don't know what you guys think.
You actually have a point, Ada, but I think I would ask two questions. I don't know, just to understand this. When you say we enter the MRS number once on the top field, as expected, we already have the validation in place.
Yes, so that one have the check digit algorithm in place. So that's one to rule out the typo, right?
Yes.
And then another option is using the scanner. So it's not even a typing issue. It's like scan and input the value. True. So that's how I see that for AMRS universal ID. We don't need to do a re-enter for confirmation.
So in my I think that makes perfect sense, and we can leave it at that. And then when you come down to the following section where we have the identifier type, is it this is, I think this is the way I just view it. Is it okay to collapse out enter identifier, confirm identifier, such that when you select the identifier type, that's the point where we have this two open? Because from the previous trainings, that is what we've been telling them to do, and probably some of them will keep doing the same thing. So I don't know if that would, as we make the identifier type not mandatory, just hide out all this and then have it.
So what was the challenge again from the training?
Like during the training, we asked them to input.
Oh, because they think it's like, because right now it's a required, that's why they input it.
Yes.
I think we need to remove the so when you look at the forms, all the form templates, when there's like a red asterisk, that means it's required. I think we need to remove the first, all these asterisks. But then when the identifier type is chosen, and then the enter identifier and confirm identifier would become required.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what we discussed yesterday, that this part need to be modified as well.
All right.
Yeah. So I would like to hear other members' feedback on this one, whether what we're discussing makes sense.
Okay, Eda, maybe for an input. Currently, the registration form, I think that part is not mandatory. Yeah, because I tried out filling a form today. It's not a mandatory field. You can select or you can leave it the way it is.
Yeah, so right now you have to choose the other identifier type, input that, and the value in order for you to save as complete form data. I think we need to remove that condition, because not every client will have other identifier type. Think about someone just go to empath, let's say that, just to register for empath care. Most likely they only issue the universal ID, right?
Yeah.
So if we make the other identifier type mandatory or required, user will not be able to save as complete form data.
Yeah. So maybe I had a suggestion. If you can rename that section as any other identifier, so that the user can know that if the patient has another identifier, they can input there.
Yeah, I agree. So please put this. I agree. I think we should rename the identifier to like other identifier type or something like that. And then just like what Lauren say, and then hide enter identifier and confirm identifier field unless the other identifier type is chosen, and then it expand. Would that be reasonable?
Eda?
Yes, go ahead.
I had another observation also today. I filled that registration form, and when I entered the future date on the encounter date, it was able to save completely. It's a complete form. So I thought it is
yes. Yeah. So put, find all, please update the tickets with all the unexpected behavior, so that when Simon work on it, he can double check.
Okay.
Yes, please do before he start working on this ticket, so that he can include, so that it reduce the turnaround time. Doing testing and then say, oh, it's been there for a long time, but I just report it now. So it just help a lot to reduce a lot of time if we report before the tickets start being worked on.
Yeah.
Yeah, please do, everyone. So yeah, anything that you find that the behavior is not correct, please update the ticket.
Okay.
Thank you so much for pointing that out. I mean, even for me, I would say, I would even go one step further, especially on the day of birth field. It should not be a future day as well. future birth year as an option. Why 2025 is an option? You know, it should not even be listed.
So maybe Eda,
Yes.
for a clarification, is it supposed to be a prior date or a day equal to today?
For which
when you're filling a registration form?
the registration form is to be today's day or
Prior.
before. Yes.
Okay, not a future date.
You cannot be a future day because you don't know when, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Cool. You know, there's similar thing for date of birth. You cannot have a future birthday, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But then for the return visit day, it's the opposite, right? Your return visit day cannot be before today's day, right? So it's really, really good question that when we try to test on the form, try to think of all this logic, whether the form is behaving correctly or not. Simon, do you have questions for the team in terms of the registration form update?
Not really. I think I'm clear on the requirements and the suggestion.
Okay. Cool.
The form.
Okay, the next one is mUzima 303. Because Shweta is not here today, and Win is not here today, I was going to discuss, what kind of the data structure need to be changed on the in the table. Since both of them are not here, I'm going to postpone this topic to next Monday, if it's okay for everyone.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, so just want to give some background information. It's not just about making changes to the UI. When you make changes to the UI, that means there might be some corresponding data structure change in the database as well. So that's why I want to discuss today. But since both of them are not available, we'll postpone to next Monday. The next agenda item is I forgot to include two agenda items. So one of them is mUzima test server daily refresh. Simon, do you want to give us a brief background what that means? mUzima test server, nicely refresh or something.
Yeah, what that one means is that we have one test server, and from time to time, everyone uploads forms, and even we have different modules and data being uploaded. So at some point, you'll find we have a very long list of forms with different names. So what we were thinking is that for a test server, there should be a mechanism of having to reset the records on it, so that we server. So what we are thinking is we should have a mechanism of, let's say, maybe every 2 weeks to reset the server to take it back to an original state. So right now we are not doing that, and possibly for other reasons, because from when we continue sending data and uploading and processing data on the server, somehow the database grows. So we would want to make the server as efficient as possible, and therefore it would be necessary to apply this mechanism of having to reset, to reduce the size of the database, and also to clean up the forms so that it's easier for continuous testing work being done. So I've seen Win clear the forms before, I don't know whether he did it manually or he has some mechanism. He has a backup that he updates the server with. So I thought if he was here, he could also let us know whether he already has some mechanism. But if not, I think it's important for us to think of a way of doing it. So yeah, so that's it about the server.
Okay, so I think the question is for everyone. Should we have the, first of all, should we have the regular period refresh for the mUzima test server? If yes, how often? If no, you can provide why to justify.
You're not clear, Ida.
So the question for the team is, for everyone, is that do you think it's good to have the regular periodic refresh to the mUzima test server? If yes, how frequent? That means like every day, once a week, once a month, or the option is no. You're happy with the current setup.
I think we should have a regular cleanup. That is my suggestion.
So how frequent?
Twice a month.
Twice a month. Okay. How about other members?
I would agree with the same.
Should we have that refresh maybe to be in sync with the sprint, maybe?
Yeah, I think so.
That would be less confusing, don't you guys think?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So as we talk about, after every sprint, it would generate all the updated APK and OMOPs, right? So that's when all those related modules will be uploaded and also refresh the form templates, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that it would be, that's the latest testing environment. Would that be something that everyone agree?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so Simon, we have an answer now. Yay! So cool.
By refresh, you're talking about the forms table only.
No, any contents that would roll back to the original. Let's say that I'm just making it up. So like doing every day, someone would create 5 templates. Someone might enter a lot of data, a lot of metadata, and things like that. So we want to have like a set of providers, a set of locations. Those are like with certain characteristics, so that those things would not change every time after the refresh. So let's say that we can have a provider without the identifier, and then maybe we have a provider with identifier that is different from the system ID, so that we have different use cases and scenarios that it would be helpful for us to do the testing every time. We just pick the same one and then the same set, so that we don't have to build all these like different providers or locations behavior. So that it's really helpful for testing.
Yeah. Now I understand.
Yeah.
Right? Because a lot of time that when you create something and then someone make changes, or like someone remove your stuff, or it's different from what you set up. So it's always helpful to come up with, let's say that maybe, just like saying, even the location, something similar, maybe a few test patients with similar date, different combinations of background or criteria, for the client, so that it's always helpful for us to have those like sample or test provider or test location or test client, so that it's really helpful when we do testing. I don't know if it makes sense or not.
Yeah, it makes sense. So to me, I think we shall need to identify the set of tables that we shall want to refresh every every sprint. Because there are some, like the concept dictionary, which I think would be updated every time we have a new goal. And then there is maybe I don't know what we would do with a list of cohorts, because somehow I think we need to have a standard list of cohorts with names also that make sense. Yeah. So generally, I think we need to look at through the tables, then identify what we would want to refresh every 2 weeks. So I think maybe I can look at it. Then during the Monday's call, I can maybe suggest what I think we need to refresh, and then guys can also give ideas in case of any changes.
Yeah, I think that's great.
Yeah.
So the whole point of this topic is to have like a consistent test environment for everyone, so that it's remove a lot of confusions or unexpected behavior, so that it's easier for everyone to do testing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's pretty much what this one is. As Simon pointed out, we need to identify a set of tables that the metadata should not be changed, and then another set of table that they have continuous changes, so that we just simply need to list those out, so that we always can reference to that page, the wiki page, so that it's clear for everyone.
Okay.
Awesome. Any more comment or suggestions on this one?
And from inside.
Thanks. The next one is the best way on notification of new APK and OMOPs. And again, I want to thank Robotiking Initiative and bring this up. So what happened is that Win would usually post on the relevant tickets in the current sprint, and say that, oh, he published, generate new APK or OMOP and things like that on this Dropbox link. So that's how I usually know. It's not like because Win told me separately. It's because I test on the, he put an update on the ticket. I take a look. That's how I know that a new version has been published. And it's always published in the same folder, the same development folder, or the sprint folder. So is it not sufficient for folks to be informed, or you guys have like another suggestions about like mailing lists and things like that? Do you want to talk about it, Robot?
We were suggesting maybe if we could have mUzima listserv, then it will be easy at least to inform people that we have maybe like a new APK.
Okay.
I'm not sure what other members think. Maybe people can add suggestions of what they think. Because like at the moment, I find it very difficult because we have 2 links for Dropbox. There's one for Sprint Dropbox, and there's another one that you gave us. So I'm not sure, are we supposed to be checking both links for new APKs? Or
Yeah, so doing the development, doing the sprint,
yes,
you should check the developments folder, because that's when the new ones are being published. After the end of the sprint, we mentioned that he would generate a new set of APK and OMOPs that would be put in the sprint folder. So you don't need to check the sprint folder until the sprint is over. That's when the new one are published. So let's say that the current sprint will end next Monday. So from now till the next Monday, you don't need to look at the sprint folder, because we would not generate this new set of APK and OMOPs till to after next Monday.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's so that everything is in sync. So I think maybe it's easier to see this way. The same thing for the test server, the mUzima test server. It will not have a reverse till to the end of the spring, and then it, the springs folder as well. It will not have new publication, publication until the end of spring. Would that be easier for everyone to remember?
Sure.
Yeah.
So my other question is, maybe if we have an APK released for production, then how will it be communicated to us that you're supposed to use that APK?
So we talk about the Spring, the APK released in the Spring folder. That is the implementation of production quality.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, but again, I would suggest everyone to test with the routine, the routine test before you release to your implementation to use, just in case.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
That's always the rule of thumb, right? You want to make sure you, as the implementation coordinator, to ensure it doesn't cause any problem before you ask your implementation to use it. This is very important. It's okay to be a few days late, not to use the latest things, but to ensure that it's really working as expected before you ask your team to use it.
Okay.
Is it clear for everyone?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but I don't know. I tend to still lean towards having a list serve. I don't know if it's not really at all order to have one. It would be great because it wouldn't just serve the purpose of what Robai was trying to say, but I look at it from a different perspective. Like, for instance, if I probably need the test server, mUzima test server restarted, if it has issues, if I'm experiencing a different issue, or if I've noted something and instead of jumping to do a ticket on it, probably somebody else has looked at it or has seen a solution that's different from what I experienced. You can actually share it on the listserv before it gets to the point where you're doing it. I don't know if that makes sense to the others.
Yeah, so the listserv, you guys can send email to the listserv anytime you want if you have any concern. So don't feel like the listserv is only for me to send notification out. Anyone can use it.
Perfect.
Right? Everyone is entitled to send it to the listserv. So try to distinguish that, when you send information to the listserv, try to distinguish that it's really the application issues or the system issues versus is implementation issues. For example, if you say, you need to create a new user, you don't need to send to the listserv because this is like an AMPAP side thing. Does it make sense?
Sure.
Yeah. So try to, if just like what Lauren said, I was testing with the test server, mUzima test server, and then it behaved very strange, and then please send that to the mUzima listserv.
All right.
Right. But if you're testing with the AMPAP test server, things not behave as it is, I don't think it would be appropriate to send to mUzima listserv because it's like AMPAP customization thing, system admin thing. So I just want to distinguish them. But if you have doubts, always can ask me or Simon, and then we can help you guys.
Okay.
Yeah. So the thing is, don't feel afraid of bringing up the questions. We would love people to bring up questions because when it's impossible, there's no challenges. When there's no challenges either, it's like people don't report the challenges, or they're not even aware of the challenges. And then by the time we realize that becomes such a big problem. We don't want that. So we love everyone to share the blockers or the challenges they have so that we can work together one by one.
Okay.
Yeah. We encourage everyone to share and bring this up.
maybe another question on APKs. Like most of our projects are using APK for February. So is it correct if we install the latest APK, or we have to wait until all the issues have been fixed?
Can you say that one more time, Robai?
What I mean is, most of the projects are using the stable APK, which is of February 2015.
Mm-hmm.
And at the moment, we have the latest APK dated 10th August.
Mm-hmm.
So do we still continue using the February APK, or?
So this brings back to the same question, right? So if you want to use the latest APK, you need to make sure that you test intensively to make sure that it works well for your implementation before you ask your implementation to use it.
Mm-hmm.
So have you tested the August 10th APK? It works well on your Huawei device? Because I thought that that's what you guys report, that it doesn't work well with the Huawei device.
Like, it works well on Nexus tablets. It only has issues on the Huawei tablets. And like oncology, they're using Samsung 2 tablets.
So test it with so I would suggest to do this, borrow the Samsung tablets from the oncology group and do the testing with the August 10th APK. If it works well, and then suggest them to use the latest one.
Yeah, and in addition to that, actually I wanted to bring up this issue because we realize the latest APK has quite a number of changes. Good changes, actually. The download of locations, download of our providers, which would be very good for the project.
It also needs to update the new form templates as well. Yes.
However, I think that the teams using mUzima will have to coordinate. We'll have to change the discriminator of the registration form on the server side, and therefore, I would wonder whether, for example, if CDM decides to use the latest APK while oncology is using the old one, then it means they would be using two different registration forms. So
Sure.
I don't know how this coordination will happen so that we know which registration form to use, and also so that they test the latest forms that have capability to download locations and providers to the devices. So it's a question of the teams. I think the people who are coordinating the different projects to think through and coordinate themselves so that we can move this forward.
Also, maybe make a comment on the same APK dated 10th of August. I've been in a position to test the APK. Maybe you'd find that the APK submits, the form will tell you the upload process is successful during submission to the server, but going back to the server side, you'll find that the specified form is not existing. If someone would check ticket LAC 23, there is a complaint about the same as I used to test the costing form. It tells you upload process is successful, but when you check the server side, that form is not existing. So I would say maybe it still has issues, and more testing needs to be needed to take place. On the same note, I would still say the APK dated 10th of August has issues on Huawei Ascend Y210, and you'd find that most of the devices out there in the field within the CHWs for both LAC and CDM are Huawei Ascend Y210 smartphones. So you'd find that now if we decide to change that APK and put in the current one, it means we'll have a lot of challenges. Yeah, a lot of challenges this side for LAC and CDM. Only if we say maybe only if we say that maybe it's oncology that's the only one has to use, but the same means that the registration form also has to change on production. which will affect all the projects at the same. I don't know. What do you think about that?
So, well, I'm already looking at the Huawei issues, Derek.
Okay.
And like Eda said, I think we shall still need to do extensive testing. Once we agree that how to roll out that new APK plus the related forms on the server side.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe another suggestion, I suggest that we do an intensive testing on the 10th APK, then everyone to give findings, then we compile, then we see the way forward.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. We should do a lot of testing, and I think that would be.
Maybe each one should test with different devices, then we compile the reports.
Yeah, sure. So just before. If you had set up any new forms that you are testing, when you go to the server, you'll find they're not.
You're breaking, Savai.
Yeah, what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You can hear me.
Yeah.
Yeah, what I'm saying is that the test server has been updated with latest gold. So if you are testing any forms, next time you go to the server, you'll find they are not. The setup has changed. The forms list has been reset. That happens every time when gold is moved. So in case you are testing something, I think you'll have to reload the forms onto the server for you to proceed. This I'm referring to the Empath test server.
Oh, so we can use the Empath test server.
Yes, you can use it. I'm saying now we have the latest gold on the server, so you'll find some changes next time you visit the server.
Now, Savai, we supposed to be uploading those forms to the server? Is it us or?
What I understand is that in the past, you guys have been uploading forms to the server whenever you want to test, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, so the same thing. What I'm saying, if you had uploaded any form on the test server, you will not find it when you next.
Okay.
Yeah, so don't be surprised. It's because of the movement of gold. Okay? Well, I guess that's it. Unless you guys have other issues, I think it's already past time.
Have a nice weekend.
Same to you.
Same to you.
Okay, thank you.
Bye.